So the Deltaforce open beta has just started yesterday, and so far the feedback to it is very mixed. Some people like it and feel like it is an improvement, while others have massive issues and bugs and don't really like it at all. But two things that pop up the most right now are the questions: what has actually changed in the beta compared to the alpha, and why does this beta feel like we're basically playing the same build that we already had in the alpha? So I want to go over all of this after I did some testing today, and there were also some more interesting insights from Deltaforce themselves that I want to share with you a bit later in the video. But first of all, what was promised for the beta? Well, only a few days after the alpha had ended, we had a Q&A with game director Shadow, and back then he promised a lot of changes and also a bit more content, and that we would be able to play all of this during Steam Next Fest already. The new content would include 2 new maps, one for each of the core game modes. The existing maps would be tweaked a little, and the operator abilities as well, and we would also see network improvements and quality of life changes. They also teased some more destruction in the trailer, but they didn't specifically mention this for the beta, so I'll leave this out here. And just last week they also said that all operators except for Viron and all weapons and attachments would be unlocked right from the start, which sounded incredibly good. So I guess a lot of us were looking forward to the beta mainly because of the new content, but then when we got in yesterday, we saw that the content is pretty much the same. We still have the same maps, the same game modes, and the same weapons that we had in the alpha. We still have the exact same level of destruction. The maps look exactly the same. There were no changes made at all. The operators don't seem to be tweaked, at least from what I played. None of the abilities felt different from the alpha. The weapon balance seems to be exactly the same, with the exact same best loadouts and attachments. And the only thing that is indeed new is that all of the weapons are unlocked right from the start, but that's of course only for the beta. But the attachments still need to be unlocked, even though they said they would be accessible for everyone right away, so you won't have to grind in a beta. And this caused a lot of frustration for all players that had already taken part in the alpha, or maybe even in the pre-alpha like I did, because we're basically playing the same build for the 3rd time in a row now. And just like most other players, I was wondering what happened to the promised content and why there don't seem to be any changes, especially since they tried to hype up players for this beta for a few weeks now. And just today, the Deltaforce X account came forward with this, but not in a full post for everyone to see. Instead, they shared the reason in an answer to a post from Enders, where he was also complaining why this is the same build again. And they wrote that only the current China build is the early access version, which they're optimizing and localizing right now for global release in Q4 2024, and that the Steam Next Fest version that basically the rest of the world has right now is indeed much closer to the alpha test, because they wanted to give players who weren't involved in the alpha the chance to try the most localized build available before launch. So the reason why we do indeed play pretty much the same version that we already had in the alpha is that the new version was simply not localized yet, which also explains why the beta still has all of the exact same translation errors that the alpha had. And I'm always wondering how this can happen in such a huge company. I mean, the Timmy Group, that is the publisher behind this game, is not exactly small or inexperienced when it comes to game releases. They also wrote that the current Chinese version already features all of the new content and quality of life improvements that were promised after the alpha, so the new maps, new vehicles, and so on. And I looked around a bit on the Chinese video platform Bilibili and indeed found a few gameplay clips of this new version. Now, the problem is that I don't know how they handle the copyright of these videos, and you also need to be registered on the platform to watch the videos in full resolution. So I'm not showing you any of the gameplay here. But from what I saw, the new Havoc Warfare map really looks like a mix of Redacted and Flashpoint from Battlefield 2042, just like we thought from the screenshots already. And most of it is underground, and the clips I saw basically looked like this part here from the Battlefield 2042 map Flashpoint and this part here from the map Redacted. But just to give you an idea of what it looks like. The gunplay and movement, however, looked pretty much the same as in the version we have now, and I also didn't spot any new guns. But what I recognized were some UI changes that make the game look a little bit different from Battlefield. So for example, the skull after killing someone has changed. I couldn't spot more unfortunately, but according to the post of the Deltaforce X account, we will see the early access coming coming very soon. So hopefully within the next few weeks. They also promised to give us some more details on what to expect from the early access, content-wise, and also when it comes to changes and improvements, but I don't think this will drop during the beta. I also hope that they work on their communication and transparency, because promising players something that is then actually not available and only accessible for a few players in one specific country is not the best way to build trust with a player base. I also hope that we will see a similar amount of content coming to both modes of the game, because right now it seems like they put a lot more emphasis on the extraction mode compared to Havoc Warfare. But the extraction genre is already so flooded with more and more games being released every month, while the tactical shooters like Battlefield are basically not existing right now. So there's a huge player base desperately waiting for something new to play, and I hope that the Deltaforce devs will see this and put the same amount of time and energy into both modes. However, going back to the beta at the end, for me personally it still feels better than the alpha, so I can't say they didn't do a single thing. The server performance feels better, it's less laggy, the hit rate is better, and I'm dying a lot less behind cover. I also have higher FPS compared to the alpha, even though I'm using the same settings, so I went from about 80 FPS in the alpha to a stable 120 in the beta, and there also seemed to be less or no AI in Havoc Warfare. At least I hadn't had any crazy high kill games at the beginning like I had in the alpha. Matches really feel like you're playing against real players right from the start, so there either is no AI or they improved it to act like real players, but I doubt that. And what I also recognized is that sometimes matches are not completely full, you can see that in the scoreboard, so it doesn't seem like they still fill them up with AI. Vaulting also feels a lot better than before and seems more fluent, and this weird delay between the actions and stance changes seems to be shorter this time, which makes everything feel less clunky. But then again, I also heard from others that they have a completely different experience and that the game actually runs worse for them and that it feels more clunky and less responsive. So maybe I'm just lucky with my system that it feels better for me. Let me know in the comments below how it is for you. How does the beta feel and how is your experience? And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. I'm the Catwoman and you are awesome.